AI is reshaping SEO and CRO strategies. Tools analyze data faster than humans. Marketers must adapt or fall behind. How can you balance automation with strategic thinking? According to SEMrush 2024 Think Big with AI report, 76% of businesses already use AI for content marketing and SEO, and 78% are satisfied with the results. This highlights the rapid adoption of AI across the search marketing landscape. Here's the challenge. SEO and CRO require both data and creativity. AI tools promise efficiency, but demand oversight. How can you leverage these technologies while maintaining quality and performance? This is the Voice of Search podcast. I'm Jordan Cooney, and joining us today is Shaun Hinklein, head of SEO at Apollo.io, which helps B2B companies connect with potential customers through data-driven solutions. Today, Shaun will share how to effectively combine SEO and CRO strategies using AI and LLMs. Shaun, welcome to the Voice of Search podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jordan. Appreciate it. Not intimidating at all with that beautiful open.
Yeah, I know, right? So, I mean, obviously we have tons of topics to cover, lots of things to dive into. But before we get started, I remember from our prep and kind of conversations, like give our listeners a little background on yourself, your history in SEO, what companies you've worked with, and and then a little bit about Apollo and what you're doing there.
Yeah, it sounds good. So a little bit about me without boring every reader or listener to tears. I was a journalist major, played around with WordPress at MTV2, learned how to do SEO, never looked back. It was a really cool way to be creative and also analytical at the same time. Been very lucky, blessed, and fortunate to be at the right place at the right time with certain companies. I was the head of SEO at Squarespace, Ramp.com, did some stints at Comic-Con for a very long time. And now I'm at Apollo. Absolutely love the team and the growth team here. And what we're doing is we're radicalizing data-driven content. You know, we're taking all of our SEO know-how and all of this AI LLM ecosystem growth, and we're trying to combine it into the best user experience for people that are on Apollo possible. And we're doing this, yes, through content, but we're doing it in a lot of different ways as well.
All right, curveball question, just for the start. Out of all these crazy, fun, unique brands, which one did you just like enjoy the most, right? Which one did you like in your heart of hearts? Like, you know, you had to move on, you had to take on whatever other role it was, but like you just loved working with that brand or that division. I mean, which one was it?
Yeah, hold on. Let me just check my Venmo real quick to see who. Oh, it was them. Okay, great. Well, no, all right. Jokes aside, definitely Comic-Con. It was San Diego Comic-Con, WonderCon, that whole shebang. Right. On and off for years, but admittedly, hopefully not a super cheese answer. It's the people. You meet so many amazing, interesting people, like artist alleys. Anybody who's listening, if you've ever been to a Comic-Con, you know what I mean by artist alley. If you've never been to one, artist alley is where you should immediately go. It's usually in the back. It's all the independent artists who have a lot of really good books, cartoons, animations, you name it. They're making board games over there. They're doing such cool stuff. An insane cool opportunity for anybody who worked there to go to different shows all across the world and talk to those independent artists and build a network. As much as I love being at Apollo and Ramp and Squarespace and all of these big, awesome names, that there's nothing there that can compete to that experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And I think, you know, whenever you get an opportunity in any job or career to be able to connect with the people who are actually building the great things, that's what makes it tons of fun, right?
100%. That's why I'm at Apollo.
Awesome. So, I mean, I have to start off with, you know, the age-old AI question, right? Because that's just, you know, how most of these podcasts are starting these days. And we're going to talk about AI and its evolution in search. So how has AI and LLMs reshaped the connection between SEO and conversion rate optimization, or CRO, over this past year? I mean, you guys got an intimate view of that at Apollo, so I'd be curious to see where the connections are between SEO, CRO, and what you guys are seeing.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I'll start this by making fun of all the dudes who say SEO is dead because that happens again,
I've done
and
it.
it's
I regret it now.
I think I have as well. So I'll take my pot shots, right? I'll eat my humble pie. But yeah, it's very cyclical, right? Time is a flat circle when it gets into SEO, AEO. I remember people were freaking out about Google authorship rank and schema markup. As long like if you've been in this space for a bit, you know that sensationalism is a thing.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that said, AI is not sensationalism. AI is definitely here to stay. It's the new norm, and we have to adapt. In your open, you said that like 78% of companies love that they're doing it, and 76 are already using AI for content marketing and SEO.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. But to answer your question head on, the entire landscape is changing.
Hmm.
You have to be on the know of artificial intelligence and agentic models. You have to know how Google values different content in relation to Gemini and AI mode coming out. You now have to, from an SEO perspective, understand the user experience. The reason that I've stayed in SEO as long as I have is because I think I'm just a really big hippie user experience person, and I got into journalism, and then I got into SEO, and I kind of rode that wave. And I love the gig, I love the career, but now I'm even more in love with it because what LLMs and AI have inadvertently done is make everybody focus on the user experience and the quality of the content. There was this opportunity for like scalability where everybody was donking off like terrible terrible
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
like 4,000 landing pages. So like, I'm just going to grab as much as I
Right.
possibly
Right.
can. And that was cyclical because black hat SEO has been a thing forever, and now we're going to
Right.
have black hat LLM. And okay, cool,
Black
like
Hat
the
LLM. I love
it,
it.
it's totally going to happen. And
Right.
it's so cyclical that it should, at least my opinion, calm everybody down a little bit. Stop with the anxiety attacks and the FOMO of not being on top of the latest agentic model, and focus more on like what your brands can do to kind of crush and provide a really kick-ass user experience. And I really do mean a good user experience, not
Right.
saying that as a way to hide, make a bunch of money for your board. Like, no, just
Right.
focus on you, like Jordan and me, Shaun. Like, what would we read and share on LinkedIn and Reddit? And it's a hard question to ask, and it's really hard. And sometimes people ask it and then walk away from it. Don't, because you have to answer that question in order to answer your question about like how does AI affect SEO and CRO. It's all user experience now. It's like, what do you have that nobody else has? An ongoing joke that I make way too often is like, if you want to learn how to tie your shoe in the worst way, Google it, because you'll get 50 articles about how to tie your shoe. And
Yeah.
then just pick one at random. Like, where's the value there? There's nothing
Yeah.
new. Versus if I were reading something from, I don't know if Stride Ride still exists. I'm dating myself here, but that's like the kids' shoe store over here in Jersey. If they had something like, hey, we asked a bunch of parents what's the easiest way for kids to learn how to tie their shoe, immediately better. Immediately. And you
Right.
can use that, you can craft that a lot more efficiently with AI and LLMs, and that's where we get into the real answer of like CRO, efficiency,
Yeah.
efficiency and velocity. A colleague of mine at Apollo, Matt Curl, he was on a podcast and he said that AI speeds things up, and I couldn't
Sure.
agree more with him. So I think and I'll end the rant here. The way that we're approaching SEO and CRO is like there's no shortage of good ideas, but
Yeah.
there is always a shortage of bandwidth and time. AI has
There
allowed
is.
us
Yeah.
to execute faster, and we're all about what we ship. So we just want to ship
Yeah.
a really great quality user experience quickly, and that's really how we're combining it. We're not optimizing for LLMs. We're using the technology to create a better user experience using our proprietary data so that we can tell you really cool stuff like, hey, the best time to call a CMO is Tuesday at 8 a.m. Like,
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
cool. And we can only do that.
So let's talk a little bit more about this from this B2B software perspective, right? Which you
Sure.
have, and I think when we talk about CRO, we often kind of can cover a ton of ground, right? We can talk about
Yeah.
design, we can talk about layout, we can talk about data and what engages users. When you think about the experiences you're trying to build at Apollo and what you're creating,
Yeah.
what is the real driver? What is the thing you're trying to unlock from a user perspective, regardless of if it's SEO or CRO?
Brand. I want people to recognize that Apollo has value, and and our brand resonates with what they're trying to achieve. So with SEO, right? Macro funnel. I'm looking at a bunch of keywords. I'm trying to get you to click into me, kind of like a flea market or a mini mall, if you will. And once you're in my store, I want you to find value. If you walk right out, bounce rate, exit percentage, big on analogies today. I don't know why. Then there's no value. And I just achieved half the goal, but I didn't achieve the main goal that I wanted to achieve. I didn't give you the value that you needed. I didn't get you through a conversion event, a sign up, a newsletter, something to make you realize that there's actual value here. I look at this as all about brand. If we're successful, then yeah, we can have more signups and more demo requests. And in the world of B2B software,
Yeah.
MQLs, SQLs, like throw a million acronyms at people, right? But at the end of the day, if you didn't have a good quality user experience, you're going to forget Apollo ever existed. Or worse, you're
Yeah.
going to look at Apollo and go, yeah, they're all right. But no, we're all about making sure that you have the best user experience that you can through this content, through this data, through CRO, and making sure that you're not getting lost, making sure that you're not wasting your time, making sure that we're not convoluted in our messaging, because in the B2B space, not naming names here, but that's pretty easily it's easy to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
So it's a big emphasis on like what's going to make a quality user experience. I know this is a cheat answer because it's kind of the same answer as before,
No,
but
I think there's some value here in being clear about how you guys want to make data and make the brand visible to the users. And I actually
right,
think this is a great way for us to unpack our next data-driven decisions question, which is, how are you guys using these AI tools, these AI methods to best identify keywords? And I would even argue like it's beyond keywords now. It's really about like understanding topics, prompts, requests, inquiries from users. And how are you doing this to really understand the parallel to conversion, right? Like how
yeah,
are you getting to that conversion? To your point earlier, like a lot of B2B companies just throw stuff up, right? They'll put up the page, the logo pages, or they'll put up all of these, very low value type automatic pages across their ecosystem that are intended to drive traffic because there's some sort of very, very, base veneer type answer that's given through that page, but does it really give you that deep level of insight like you were talking about that Apollo can do? Apollo can tell you very, very specifically when it's the best time to contact a CMO. That is a much higher value proposition than please email CMOs and you will get leads, right? Like
yep,
that's just not a very useful page, right? So
yeah.
curious to get your perspective how you guys are using AI to really unlock that use of data in the different scenarios and experiences that you're building.
Yeah, you're like 100% correct. It's not just about keywords. Keywords are a leading indicator at this point. I think they've kind of always been, but
Right.
let's just,
Yeah.
it's all good. The way that we're really using it, I think most effectively is by taking advantage of what we've had, which is like we've had this data, we've had this giant DB of billions and billions of records, and we want to extract value to our like for our users from these records. So the real way that we're using it is to figure out those data points that you just said, like best time to call a CMO. If you're a VP of sales and you're selling to lawyers, when do you want to talk to these lawyers? What subject line in your email is the best? What's the word count? How many follow-ups do you need? What kind of sequences or AI power-ups should you be using? And conversely, if you're targeting certain industries, what are the no-nos? Like what are the things, hey, don't email this person 3 times, they'll just block you immediately.
Right. Right.
These are things that we're trying to now no, not trying, that we are discovering
Mm-hmm.
using Pythia. And Pythia is our internal LLM tool. It's an internal tool that allows us to look at all of these records, scrub for PII, of course, and then understand, like if someone's targeting a certain industry or if they're selling, if it's an SDR using email as their primary sales tool to book meetings, how can we get them to book more meetings? How can we
Yeah.
get them to sell more? That's ultimately the big the global question. The global question is like, if you're using Apollo and we have all of this data available to us, we could go one of many routes, but for convenience, I'm just going to go with two. We could go the Ahrefs SEMrush route, where I download a bunch of keywords and then I go to Copy AI or Writer. Free shout out for you guys, lucky.
Yeah.
And I make a bunch of blog content. Everyone's done that already. That happened like a year and a half
Yeah.
ago. It
Yeah.
doesn't work.
That's
Google
kind
can
of
like
dead
filter it
now,
out.
right? Especially in B2B. The download the list of keywords and then do some content because I found a keyword. That's gone. So like,
100%.
where are you guys going to get data and insight? Is there anything internal at Apollo that you guys like seek out to like really understand that SDR, understand that CMO?
Oh, absolutely, man. And what a wonderful question for a guy like me. So yeah, like their email templates, how often they're in the
Mm,
product, how many
mm.
sends do they make? What's happening with their phone calls? What's happening with their transcripts? This is all stuff that we have that we can scrub and then create data to help people sell more. And
Right.
this is not, if you were to like look at this from a very pure Webster definition, I wouldn't really call this SEO. Hell, I wouldn't even call this
No.
CRO. I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
call it like growth content LLM stuff. And when we finally get out of the label problem, and I think we can just build really, really cool stuff. And a lot of companies don't have this label problem. It's more just understanding that like SEO is an evolving medium. It's a pretty little acronym because it's very long to write search engine optimization a bunch of times. But I never really want to get too in love with the search engine part, because to me, not to be super cheese, the universal language of the internet is search. We've just
Yeah.
conflated that with Google, but that's
Yeah.
not. They're not the same. Searching is like TikTok, LinkedIn, Reddit. It's not even a company. It's more just like
Yeah.
the hunt for information or human connection. Again, not to cheese it up hardcore here, but it's definitely not Google. So like if we're giving value for best time to call a accountant if you're selling QuickBooks. If you're like a QuickBooks consultant and you're selling accountants and actuaries, and you want to know like what's the subject line that's actually going to help me get an open rate of over 50%, we could probably help you out there. But what keyword is that? It's
Yeah.
probably something
Exactly.
like a accountant email template, in which 90% of SEOs are going to go to Keyword Planner, SEMrush, Screaming
Right.
Frog, or Ahrefs. They're going to see 50 MSV and they're going to go, ew, I don't want
Right.
that. My
I'm never
my
going to
boss
use
is
that
going to
again. Yeah.
hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a reshifting of value and like a
Yeah.
reshifting of where we're going.
Let's talk about discovery, because you brought up all these other ways that consumers can find information and gather insight and data. How are you thinking about discovery differently now? How are you looking at the world of how your users and your core audience is finding your data, finding your content, and how are you balancing the different possibilities and channels that exist?
Wow, that's a really great question. I think email is more important than ever. It's always been incredibly important. I think most SEOs understand that like the email conversion numbers are astronomical compared to non-brand search.
Mm-hmm.
Email is going to be your best litmus test to see if the content that you're creating and making that you really think is a great user experience is a great user experience. Like you can ask these users ahead of time. You can pilot something within a community. You could blast it before you share it publicly on social media, like a site like Reddit or anything like that. So definitely email is more important, but also just cross-channel discoverability is a thing that I think a lot of SEOs kind of just silo on. You should definitely care more about like Slack communities, Discords, people that are
Yeah.
in these micro
Yeah.
communities that have referral traffic. Of course, I think the sexy answer that I'm not 100% aligned with is like LLM referral traffic, but admittedly, we're so early in that world that we're still in the space of people coming out with SaaS companies that are just like, I can track all of your GPT and Perplexity
Yeah.
for $500 a month. All right, well, we got to like mature a little bit there.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about prompt volume, and if we claim we do, we're using search volume as a proxy, and now we're back in Ahrefs and Google
Right.
Search
Right.
Console.
Right. 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 Right.
So
Right.
I feel like that has some time to blossom. I also think that like affiliates and partnerships are probably going to be a big deal right now, especially the
Yeah.
more human ones. AI has already taken a Spotify band into the top 50. I don't know if you saw that. That's
Yeah.
trending right now. They've taken multiple dead internet theory Instagram accounts where it's just AI slop and they're racking up like 500,000 followers. So this, to me, going back on that weird cyclical comment, people are going to get sick of that stuff really quickly. And then this human authentic connection is going to be incredibly valuable in the market. It's going to be really tough to do that B2B, but with a brand like Apollo, I think we could and can, because we're talking to the sellers. We're not talking to necessarily like the champions or the executives. We definitely want to. We're talking to them in certain capacities, but
Sure.
SDRs and salespeople and marketing people, they can relate to the content. They get an
Yeah.
idea of like what we're trying to send to them. So we got to reach out to where they are. And this is finally my long-winded way of answering your question. So are they on Google all the time? Hell no, because
No.
we're not on Google all the time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
then it goes back all the way to user experience. Where are they? They're doom
Right.
scrolling at 1 a.m. eating Ben and Jerry's just like me. So that means
Yeah.
I got to pop up somehow and give them
Right.
value. Do I want to scare the shit out of them and give them a B2B gated PDF and be like, here's the 10 things you got to know. You're going to lose your job, Jonas.
Right. Right.
No,
Yeah.
but there has to be a craftsmanship in the messaging, the content, the tone, and then syndication. And that's why I give a lot of crap to SEO as an acronym, because like it's syndication. Like
You,
it's really at the end of the day, yeah.
yeah. You brought up this human aspect here in how all these different channels really engage with different users at different moments, whether it's at 1 a.m. or, at, 9:30 with your coffee. That multi-channel component and that ability to reach human interaction is critical. So how do you balance automation in all of this? How do you balance your SEO, your CRO, your other web page development strategies that may be automated, but you still need to create that human authenticity and connection? So how are you balancing those efforts in your mind? Feel free to use examples that go beyond Apollo. I think that you've had a great career in different places where you're trying to scale efforts. And at the end of the day, you're trying to make a connection with real humans.
Yeah, I can use an Apollo one. And thanks for that question. I think it's understanding the role of the tools is the very first prerequisite, and
Mm,
understanding that like when you say automation, I had a colleague who jokes about AI because he was like, no one says machine learning anymore, and that's the entire joke. Is because
right.
like there's a reason no one says machine learning anymore. It got a rebrand. It got a glow up. It got a really
Right.
good glow up,
Big glow up.
and
Yeah.
understanding that that's where it's coming from. It's not going, it can do these things to emulate human connection, and it can get you to the finish line, but ultimately people are going to see real like right through it, because especially in B2B, you're targeting yourself, you're targeting the
Yeah.
people that are in your seat, in your career, in your job, taking the same trajectory. You never want to seem inauthentic. So the balancing act is tough, and it is a really good question. But the way that I personally perceive it and execute on it is that AI gives me velocity, and the human connection is something that I have to get manually. So like this is something
Right.
where we're talking to customers, we're building community, we're getting testimonials, we're figuring out what they like and don't like about the product. We're enhancing the product based off user feedback. We're looking at CRO and heat maps to wonder, all right, this content that we assumed, that we thought based off of this data, that was going to provide this big value, is it providing this value? And if it's
Yeah.
not, let's change it. Let's not like have it die on a landing page, where no one's going to see this thing. Let's actually try to give them some sort of value. And a lot of times that value isn't just some paragraph or some YouTube embed. That value can be a testimonial from a company, like a Reddit or a Vanta, or anyone really. And that social proof is huge in a world where AI can just empower like 5,000, 6,000 pages in automation. We also want to make sure that we don't grow AI pages too quickly.
Hmm.
We're not. I know other there's different schools of thought on this, so I want to respect it. But like pressing a button and having 1,000 URLs a week is dangerous,
It
very
is.
dangerous,
Yeah.
and it implies a few things if you look behind the Wizard of Oz curtain, it implies growth above all cost for my domain and
Mm-hmm.
lack of a quality experience on these pages. Now, that is a very gross statement. It's a very assumed statement because I'm sure somewhere there's somebody donking off like 200 URLs and they're really, really great. But we want to make sure that what we put out there actually does have some value. It is a very it's AI is a sweet temptress. Like it's great if your numbers are down and you want 5,000 landing pages and you want to blast out and boil the ocean, be my guest. But I can assure you from personal experience, it does not work. You got to
Right.
focus
Right.
on the user. So I think that's the balancing act.
And this is a great segue because I want to talk about performance and performance measurement and like what actually is working, right? And like what's working for you guys. And
Sure.
I'm especially curious because you brought this up earlier in our episode. You said, hey, there's this keyword that has got like 50 search volume. You know, how are you looking at performance? Like, I got to believe that there's segments, even within Apollo or within other businesses, where you've worked on campaigns that really were just driving very, very, very few visitors, but those visitors were highly valuable, highly
Yep.
critical to the infrastructure of what you all are trying to do as a company, the messaging you're trying to convey. So tell us about how you think about performance metrics in this new AI world, how you're thinking about components like traffic, conversion rate, and the expectations that you're setting with your coworkers and leaders.
So I do like being on the hook for product analytics and performance like KPIs, like signups and core reg and depending on the client and what we're doing, of course. But what I
Yep.
think AI is doing is they are deprioritizing traffic and increasing the prioritization of impressions
Interesting.
and AIOs. Yeah, so like
Yeah.
AIOs basically that was like a nuclear bomb exploded, right? Every
Yeah.
SEO was like, oh great, we're
Yep.
losing traffic hand over fist, and
Right.
my
Right.
impressions
Right.
are going
Right.
up. So what can I ascertain from that other than that traffic down bad? Yes, of course. I feel for you. It's happening to all of us. But if your impressions are growing, that means Google thinks you're relevant in certain topics. That means you could create a content ecosystem and a flywheel. It could also mean that Gemini is serving a lot of this information because Gemini has stated they use AI overviews to power Gemini. And now that we're
Yep.
going into AI mode soon, and now you start to see like this thread that we keep pulling on, pulling on, pulling on. So we're looking now at where impressions are indications of AI overviews, which are indications of Gemini, which are indications of LLM mentions. An entirely new stream that is centered and starts with search. It
Yeah.
starts with SEO. So I think we have to not only track that, we have to acknowledge that. Well, first you got to acknowledge that it exists. Then you
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
track it. And there are companies that do that, like Telepathic and Tracker and GPT Trends. They do a really good job at like setting up, different prompts and the volume. But like I said before, that can only get you so far because we don't
True.
know, one-to-one measurement on how many people are typing something like this in, how do you aggregate all of these different types of prompts, what is prompt relevance versus prompt volume. Like this is still a very evolving space. There's a company called Profound. They're probably like doing like the best job at it right now, but we still got a long way to go. And because we
Right.
have a long way to go, the way that I'm looking at analytics are like my goals haven't really changed. I'm just looking at the product analytics and what can grow the business as an SEO CRO growth guy. But I am acknowledging that now the doors to come into Apollo have increased dramatically, and LLMs and AIOs have changed the landscape absolutely. But I would argue, and this is a hot take because I don't
Yeah.
like traffic going down. I would argue for the better because it gives your brand the ability to be in more places at one time. Like, and it
Oh, I
also
love
tells
that.
you
Yeah.
as an SEO, like what am I good at versus what am I bad at? If I want to
Yeah.
rank really well for, I don't know, camping gear, I got a camping chair right there. I don't even camp.
Yeah.
Camping chairs with cup holders. All right, so I could get like a Google ad carousel with 18 different chairs, and or I could find out that there's an AI overview there from a camping website that's like, all right, we tested out 4 of them. We asked 10 people that are camping in Yellowstone. They hate brand XYZ and they love brand 123.
Right.
Way better to get that in an AI overview than not at all. And in this new frontier, I can quantify my AI overviews over time, either through like virtual machines or Ahrefs, I think has like a new feature that you got
Yeah.
to pay for. And that'll give me like a data-driven content plan. That'll tell me like, what does Google think I'm good at and what does Google think I suck at? This is also all to say that we've known this with keyword ranks. Like this is basically a proxy, right? Like if I'm on page 1 or 2, I'm good. And if I'm on
Yeah.
page 9 or 10 or not ranked, I suck. So AI overviews aren't necessarily doing anything very radical. They're increasing velocity by saying, hey, we don't have to wait 2 months for you to get on page 2 now. We know this is good. We're just gonna boop,
Right.
serve it right to the
Push you
top.
up to the
Do you?
top. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Do you
it's
remember
interesting.
when
I
like
was in a conversation yesterday where we were talking about what does it mean to be in position one, right?
yeah,
And it was really interesting. The response from the team was that position one isn't about being in position one anymore. It's about that being the gateway to be more visible in AI overviews and AI mode and all these responses. But maintaining
that's
that
cool.
requires analysis of position one at all times. Like you have to be
Yeah.
checking it all times because moving in and out of position one can happen real fast. It can happen in various segues. Segues being like your example of camping chair versus camping chair with cup holders. Like you might be position one for camping chair, but you're not position one for camping chair with cup holders. And so like that understanding is like incredibly critical to this highly volatile, fast-paced new environment where you have these AI overviews and these AI mode responses.
Yep, 100%. It's been really fun looking at competitive SERPs now with more of a understanding that it's not just a keyword content, juke the stats, add anchor text, update my content type of game. Like now we
Yeah.
can go, oh, you know what? No, to get the AI overview, this has to be better. So I am now obliged and have the privilege to invest time and resources and energy and bandwidth in making a good user experience because this is what's most likely to get me that AI overview versus, I'm going to add 2 paragraphs and 2 links and I'm going to tell
Yeah.
all my friends, I'm going to shove
Yeah.
it on Reddit and go to fiverr.com. Like that shit's over.
Yeah.
So
100%.
it's great that we're getting better.
So let's go into implementation and like what this looks like in a roadmap. So give our listeners some practical steps that they can take to integrate some of the ideas, concepts, and utility of AI into their web pages, their websites, and just give our listeners a couple real practical steps that they can take.
Yeah, I'll actually give you something that I did earlier this week, and roast me in the comments, by the way, if this is not, if this is a terrible idea, or if you're going to be like, hey, Shaun, I could do this in like a minute, and you took like 10 minutes to do this. Hey, I always want to learn more, so hit me up. But I'll tell you, all right, I'm going to stop burying that lead. So what I like to do is I like to look at a SERP for a keyword. I just start there. I start with Google. Ahrefs and SEMrush are great. And eventually we'll talk about them a little bit more if you have those accounts. But let's get right into it. So let's say it's camping chair because we're just going to pick on camping chairs. I want to see the SERP. I want to take some screenshots of it. I want to analyze each source code of each result on page 1. And I want to save it in either a Google spreadsheet or rich text editor like Sublime. And I want to throw that in a Claude and I want to throw it in a GPT or whatever, but you'd have dealer's choice, really. Gemini makes sense as well because it's Google. And then I want to ask it, why does this rank really well? What is the difference between these pages? What's the word count difference between these pages? How many links are on this page versus this page? What's it outlinking for? Or doing external linking for? And then grade it. Tell me like what's the sweet spot here? Like how long? And then once you do that, and you have a big report card of all this competitive intelligence, BI data that would like McKinsey and Forrester are just going like, like you have this like treasure trove of amazing shit. Then you go to Ahrefs and you look at the graph. I think if other nerds listening, you know what graph I'm talking about. But if you don't, you look at you go to Keyword Explorer, type in your keyword, scroll down, and then you're going to see this nasty looking line graph that you can go back 2 years. So you'll be able to see oh man, I'm not a camper, so I don't know. Does camperchair.com rank #1 for camper chair or camping chair for the last like 3 years and like they're impenetrable, or is there a ton of volatility there? And if there is a ton of volatility there, well, you just got all this BI data from Claude or GPT. So now incorporate the volatility and ask it over time, like who's losing rank and why do you think they're losing rank based off of the source code? And this probably means that they've been updating this article because they're probably looking to fight for this rank. This is the new version, in my opinion, of keyword research. Everything that we just discussed is like keyword research, content research, user experience, optimization research, everything that you can think of to make a really kick-ass user experience before you've even started. Because now you know what Google likes, you know what users like, you know if you can beat them. Because relative to DR and UR, you'll see that graph over time, and you're not don't fight a brick wall. I forget what Rand Fishkin said, but he's like, don't slam your head against a brick wall, because you don't want to do that. That sucks. Like you don't want to beat Canva for Canva. Like it's not going to happen. So doing all of this will give you, let's say you wanted to rank for, I'm going to not pick on camping chair anymore, email template, something that's like MailChimp, Canva, Apollo, one of those. If you wanted to do that, you're going to need to know everything about ranking for email template. It's not going to start from the Jackson Pollock studio where you're just like, let's make this, like, because you could make the best thing on the planet and no one could look at it. I think I remember hearing content is king, distribution's King Kong. You could have like the best, you could have Slaughterhouse 6 by Kurt Vonnegut. But no one's going to read it if no one knows it exists because it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Real quick, as we look at this implementation and like how we implement, one of the things I think is really fascinating is like how you connect to your user base, how you connect your brand to what you guys are trying to do and sell. Is there anything that you guys do at Apollo that helps you better understand that customer?
Yeah, we talk to them. I know that sounds a little silly, but I think that's honestly the most important thing is setting up those inroads so that we can build community and talk to our customers. We have a lot of customers at Apollo. We're very fortunate. We have VSBs, SMBs, mid-market, enterprise, and everybody is going to need something different. They all have different goals. So it's also talking to our customers, but also assuming that they're not all the same. That's super dangerous. They're not. We have lots of different personas and ICPs that we set up. Yeah. And getting that in a matrix so that we can build things for them and prioritize for them in terms of not just content marketing, but also the what goes into our demo, what goes into the onboarding, what goes into prioritizing for internationalization and localization. All of these things are not just decided in a dimly lit basement room with like five Apollo execs. It's more, it's a accumulation of a lot of like feedback that we get from not just our customers, but also Apollo employees as well. Like we're a global remote first organization helping as many people as they possibly can to help us empower. So like if those inroads didn't work and we all worked in silos, we would be just scattershot. The brand would be kind of like in different pieces. I think you need to have that, and it takes a long time to build it, especially as you're growing and as you're scaling. So listening to our users, absolutely, but also creating content that is for them. Like the whole Pythia thing, best time to email a CEO. That took some time to come up with because we had to really look at what can we offer that's going to help people. That's really where we landed with like email templates and phone calls. Like we want to give people who are selling the ability to sell more through data. And once we have that global statement, okay, great. That means that we're always going to be talking to our users. We're always going to be looking at user data. We're always going to be looking at emails and product usage. And that's not traditionally an SEO guy's, job. But it definitely is here.
All right. Now let's transition to one of the most exciting parts of the pod, the lightning round. We're going to dive into 5 different questions in the lightning round. And I'm going to start off with our first one, buy or sell. Are you buying or selling that AI-generated content will become indistinguishable from humans in search results?
Hard sell. It's funny. I call it NPR-style content because there's AI content and then NPR-style content. But I know it's lightning round, so I'll shut up. But my answer is sell.
No, I love that. I think it's really fascinating because human creativity just cannot necessarily be manufactured yet with our LLM capabilities, you know?
Right.
And
100%.
maybe it will at some point. I don't know, but it's certainly not there yet today.
Yep.
So hard sell on that one. All right, crystal ball. We're looking into the future. Let's take a look at where things are going. Tell me how the relationship between SEO and B2B marketing will evolve over the next 2 years as AI capabilities advance.
People are going to value real content over AI content. They're going to question coming up to the 2 years, they're going to question whether or not they're reading an AI thing. And then ultimately they're not going to care because they're going to look at the value. Because B2B is very different than B2C. And in B2B, there's a lot of people that already know the practical use cases of AI, and they're probably using it themselves. Like we already know that 70% are using it right now. 2 years, if we look at that rate of adoption and that line graph, we're probably in the 90s, at least, maybe. I mean, I hope.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if we are, then I don't think it's like, you used AI. Like we're way past that. Now it's more like, how are you using AI? Like Windsurf, Lovable, these companies kick ass, and it's because they're using AI in an incredibly cool way right now.
Yes.
So who's using it in an incredibly cool way 2 years from now when we have different hardware, like that dude who designed the iPhone, his thing is going to be out with GPT. We're going to have companies like Microsoft releasing amazing stuff. Like it's going to be a entirely different landscape. So long silly answer, short version TLDR is it's going to be all about value. It's not going to be about AI anymore. It's going to be about who's using this to give me the most value.
Love it. Okay, toss up. Would you choose to invest more resources in optimizing for traditional search or non-search channels to show up in AI results?
Traditional search channels, absolutely. Yeah, Google.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Tell me more. I'm kind of interested by that one, especially since we talked a lot about tradition or non-search channels today.
Yep, they fuel LLMs. So to me, it's more order of operations. Like it's not it's more engineering brain, like or wannabe engineering brain. Let's be real here. Like to me, I love LLMs. Don't get me wrong, but I think that if they're pulling from search results, I want my search results to be as what did Anthony Bourdain say? He's like, you could be a really good cook, but if you have shitty ingredients, you're gonna be a shitty cook. So I think you need really good ingredients. And I don't think a lot of people have them. I think they're trying to optimize for visibility without focusing on their ingredients. And I think that you got to really optimize for traditional.
Love that. Love that. That was well said, Shaun. Well said.
Thank you.
Game plan. What's your game plan for balancing automated content creation while maintaining EAT signals, authority, trust, expertise signals in your content?
That's a great question. So automated content creation is just to open that up a little bit. We're always going to have an editor on there. Like we're always going to have a hybrid solution.
Right.
We're never going to just like say, hey, go for it, GPT, and then go, all right. So knowing that that's part of the process, EAT is always going to be priority 1, if not priority 0. Because to me, as a user, if my trust is betrayed in any way by a publisher, a B2B company, a B2C company, any TLD, I'm immediately going to go, I'm never coming back here. So I think EAT is the distinguishing characteristic between should I go on Reddit or GPT for something like this, or am I going to trust this website enough where I'm going to integrate and interact with it, in the future. So for me, the way that we're doing it is we have that layer. We have a hybrid editor. We're working with a company that is going to fuel all of our programmatic SEO endeavors, editorials, programmatic landing pages. And some of these pages are going to be AI in the sense that they're going to be like refreshed, but they never go live without a manual review. And they never go live without a manual review from a subject matter expert. So this could be somebody that's like a content editor, a products person at Apollo. This could be a seller or a support person. You'll have their name on it, and the only way that we have your name on it is if you've agreed to have your name on it because you've edited this, you've read this, it makes sense, and you've had this check. And to be more transparent here, I think Google Eat is so important that I encourage people to be authors of content for that reason. Like if you're going to build a brand, or if you're going to do any of that, LinkedIn stuff, you want your name out there, and it's gonna help you. So what would you be comfortable having your name on? And that's usually when you're in a meeting, you see people go, oh shit, like then they're like, my name? Oh no, I wasn't thinking that. And that's exactly where I want you to think like that, because that's how you're going to get the best product. That's where you're like, if you're there, then you're like, oh, my ass is on the line. Yeah, it is.
There has to be some real value on that page. Yeah, exactly. That aligns to the expertise or the trust. So last question here, last lightning round question, trend or trash? Do you believe that impressions are going to continue to increase while clicks stay flat in this new AI search experience world? Trend being that it's going to stay the same. We're going to continue seeing this current trend. Trash being we're going to see some variation or direction that's different.
All right. I'm going to take a hot take here. I'm going to say trash, but I'm going to back it up.
All right, please.
Because I know that this is an unknown time, for the SERPs, but I'm going to say trash because how many times have the SERPs changed? How many times have we seen like Google My Business, Google Maps? Remember Google Plus? Remember Google Buzz? Like all of this stuff, AdWords, in general, carousel, rich snippets. People also ask, you name it, right? We have seen a ton of Google SERP, A/B testing and CRO, how to extract value from their users and provide a better user experience, but also make more money. Let's be real. So because that's the norm, then you enter with AI, and then Google goes, all right, what's the most practical use of how we can incorporate this revolutionary technology? Why don't we just incorporate it with the thing that we've already been doing? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then AI overviews come out, and now we start to see VO3, and then we start to see all of this really cool stuff. I don't think they're done experimenting. So I think it's kind of going to... I think it might get a little worse, and then it'll get better. I think they're going to try and get as much as they can, and then something will happen where either everybody hates the experience and they are forced to change it, not SEOs, but like users, where like they find that GPT or LLMs or something in the market is better than the current AI overview user experience, or they come up with something better than the AIO. And they say, like, you know what? We need publishers. We need publishers, and we need companies that actually give a shit about showing up in SERPs, that aren't just going to donk off spend in AdWords. How can we do this? Well, we could give them an AI overview carousel. We could change who pops up for AI overviews. We could embed site content and say, click here for more of this answer. Like, there's so many different things that they could experiment with and try. It might be a very foolhardy optimist answer, glass half full type of guy. But I'm going to say trash because there's still too much to try.
I love it. Great answer. Thank you, Shaun, for that. And that wraps up this episode of the Voice of Search podcast. A big thank you to Shaun from Apollo for joining us. If you'd like to contact Shaun, you can find a link to his LinkedIn profile in our show notes or at voicesofsearch.com. For more information about Apollo, visit apollo.io. If you haven't subscribed yet and want a daily stream of SEO and content marketing knowledge in your podcast feed, hit the subscribe button in your podcast app or on YouTube, and we'll be back in your feed soon. Okay, that's all for today, but until next time, remember, the answers are always in the data.